Nick Cannon, Nick Cannon, Nick Cannon. I don't understand what is going on with you. It looks like you're a little bit of a loose cannon lately. No, so I wanted to talk today a little bit about what's going on with Nick Cannon, some of the crazy comments that he's made on his podcast, and him getting fired by Viacom. Viacom completely cutting him loose. So let's get right into it. The first thing that I want to talk about is this idea of getting getting canceled, right? We're continuing along the lines of cancel culture. Last time I talked about Goya, this time it's Nick Cannon. I don't see the reasoning or how the sustainability rather with canceling people. I do think that what Nick Cannon said was horrendous, and we're going to go into that. I'm going to show you a clip of it. But I do think that we have to be very careful here as people who are on the conservative side or on the right side, that we don't do the exact same thing that the left is doing. Just because Nick Cannon said something horrible, he is allowed to say that. He shouldn't have been fired from his job, and he shouldn't have been hung on the court of of public opinion. You know, I think that it's important that we look at these things case by case, and that we say, okay, what is actually being done illegally? So his ideas, his beliefs can absolutely be wrong and they can be dangerous, but that doesn't mean they are illegal to say. Um, that being said, I do want to put that aside, and I want to leave you guys with that because I do think that it's important that we don't uh, cancel people because of what they say. If anything, we open up dialogue. So I want to open up dialogue. You know, the answer to hate speech is more speech. Right, the answer to speech that you don't like is more speech. It's not less speech. It's not canceling and making sure Nick never works again, or that he's not in the public life anymore. He didn't break any laws, not like Chrissy Teigen, which we'll get into, I think, if we have time. But I want to make sure that you guys realize this. Nick Cannon said horrible things, but he did not break any laws and therefore should not be canceled. Okay? That being said, let's discuss his ideas. Let's discuss the things that he's been talking about because I think that it's important that we do that. So, Nick Cannon took a little bit of a journey within the past 5 or 6 years. He became kind of a spiritualist, kind of a pagan, where he believes in the universe, but he believes that if there is a God, he's a black man, and that black men were the first people on this earth, which is true. Black people were the first people on this earth. But then he goes to say that they are the true Israelites and that they are somehow or another more important or the people of God and therefore should be weighed more. So essentially what he's preaching is a black supremacy message, right? And black supremacy isn't the answer, just like white supremacy isn't the answer, just like brown supremacy isn't the answer. Supremacy is never going to be the answer for unity. And if we're all craving this unity, we're all craving this equality, black supremacy can't be the answer to that. It's a contradiction. So a lot of what he pulls from is teachings from a guy named Louis Farrakhan, who is he's a spiritual teacher who is the leader of the Nation of Islam. So the Nation of Islam was the same grouping or the same sect of Islam that Muhammad Ali eventually broke away from. Believe it or not, towards the end of his life, he was standing in opposition to the Nation of Islam. So I want to just go through that, and I want to just talk about that a little bit. And let's show you the clip of Nick and what he's saying, so that we can gain some context. And listen for his name drop of Louis Farrakhan, who, by the way, Louis Farrakhan is somebody that Charlemagne the God talks a lot about too. So just be mindful that a lot of these black elites listen to this guy. A lot of these like Hollywood blacks or black people, they're listening to this guy teach them spirituality and listening to what he has to say about God, and then they're taking that and mixing it with the grace gospel of Hillsong or of Judah Smith, and they're pairing those two things together. They're not getting a true source of Christianity from anywhere. I think the last person, the only person that's gotten a true source of actual biblical gospel Christianity has been Kanye, because he sought after it. He didn't just seek out the most popular preacher. He actually went and talked to Reform. He talked to John MacArthur. He talked to all of these different people. So let me just stop there and let's listen to Nick Cannon and what he says, and we'll break it down a little bit. This isn't going to be a reaction or anything. It's just going to be a little, what do you call it? Just a little clip. Be right back.
It comes with soul that we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So
Right.
the people that don't have it have are a little, and I'm gonna say this carefully, are a little less. And where the term actually comes from, because I'm bringing it all the way back around
Okay.
to Minister Farrakhan, to where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem. They're acting out of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
Fight or
pillage
flight, okay.
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And then they built up such this I don't want to say warrior, but they built up such this conquering barbaric mentality.
Very, very interesting. So let's bring us back here. So if you'll notice, it's funny. He's making an evolutionary claim there, where he's saying that white people, on the one hand, they are conquerors or oppressors, all white people, but it's not their fault. It's the fault of evolution, because when they got sent to the Caucasus Mountains, they're less pigmentation. Their lack of melanin forced them to act in savage ways, because they weren't the sun was blaring at them, and therefore it made them aggressive, and it made them angry, and it made them less human and more like animals. It's funny that he's making this claim, which is a Louis Farrakhan teaching, and we're going to look at some Farrakhan quotes right now, but Darwin made the same claims in reverse. So Darwin's theory of evolution has a different subtext. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. Give me So Darwin's theory, Darwin's original book, where he explains the theory of evolution, is called "The Origin of Species," or more completely, the "On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life." Let me back that up 1 second. The preservation of favored races. Which races do you think Darwin, a white man, was favoring? So it's funny that Louis Farrakhan is taking the same argument that Darwin took and switching it completely. Not and my stance is that neither of those arguments are good or true. And as a matter of fact, I think they're both evil. They both promote this idea that somehow our biology makes us better or worse than another person, or less human or more human than another person. To me, that is absolutely evil. It's horrendous. It's not moral. It's ridiculous. And let's look at some Farrakhan quotes now, because I think it's important that we look at the guy that Nick Cannon is learning these things from. And let's talk a little bit about that. Okay. So here we are. In anticipation of Farrakhan's visit to Alabama, here are some of his top 10 craziest quotes. So number 10, "You are not now, nor have you ever been, a citizen of America. You are a slave to white America." This is him speaking to a room full of black people, telling them you are a slave, telling them you are oppressed, you are less than. They do see you that way, which is race baiting, right? This man is profiting off of the pain of black people, like I have been saying. "America is in trouble, and I say God is about to wipe this nation from the face of the earth. I'm not crazy. I'm not drunk. How long do you think the nation can do evil and not face the wrath of God? So the wrath of God came in the form of Jesus Christ when he was crucified on the cross and took all of our sins. Not only that, but God said he would never wipe anything off the face of the earth anymore after he flooded the earth and saved Noah. The rainbow was a reflection of that. That's what the rainbow was intended for. So none of these things are biblical that he's talking about. I'm sure these things aren't even in the Quran. I'm sure this is just him posturing and him race baiting and him making sure that the black man never actually recovers from slavery so that he can continue to have a job. Number 7, my God will wipe this country, America, off the face of the earth. Now, does that sound like a loving minister of the Lord? Does it? You see, and these are all Minister Farrakhan stuff. Minister Farrakhan's quotes. So, white people are potential humans. They have not evolved yet. This is where Nick is getting these ideas from. So if we're gonna cancel anybody, why not cancel the man who's made a career off of spewing this hatred, saying that white people are subhuman or Jews are subhuman or Jews took the place of the black man and in request to be God's people, which is completely erroneous, completely historically inaccurate, and also horrifyingly evil. So let's look at one. Here we go. Number 2, the Jews don't like Farrakhan. They call me Hitler. Well, that's a good name. Hitler was a very great man. I'm baffled. I'm baffled that you can say something like that. And let me get back to you here. I'm baffled that you can say something like that and still be listened to by some of the most rich, famous, wealthy black men in America. Charlemagne the God, Nick Cannon, Will Smith has talked about him. All of these people listen to this man, and all of them repeat his rhetoric, and those are the people that are forming and shaping the minds of our culture today. Because let me tell you something, Black America is at the forefront of mainstream culture today, and who is shaping and forming mainstream culture is Black America. I don't know if you guys realize that. I'm okay with that. But when you start injecting ideas like this into it, now you've lost me. And now it takes somebody to actually stand up and say these things and say, well, Minister Farrakhan is spewing evil, spewing hatred and divisiveness, even within the black community. He doesn't want the black community to get better. He wants to take down America. Literally. And this is getting back to my point that I've been making, and people call me conspiracy theorist, people call me a tinfoil hat person. I'm none of those things. I'm not even willing to talk about the pedophilia thing until we have more documented proof. And that's how far I go along the lines of saying I need documented 100% proof. Because I don't want to be out there saying stuff and then have it be a lie. But Mr. Farrakhan has been saying these things, and the people in Hollywood have been repeating these things, and these are the things that are informing our politics, our culture, our music, the way we treat women, all of these things. It's astonishing to me. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a look at one more Minister Farrakhan quote, and then I'm going to call it a day. I was going to talk about Chrissy Teigen, but like I said, I think that falls along the line of cancel culture. We cannot start canceling people just because we think they did something wrong. What she is alleged to have done wrong, now we should look for ways to prosecute. We should look for proof. We should look for ways to prosecute. We should put all the pieces together. But we should not hang this person in the court of public opinion before they're even convicted of a crime. Now, I understand the argument for saying, well, who's going to convict them? They're Hollywood's elite, blah, blah, blah. I understand that. But we need to put faith in the system. We need to put faith in the laws, because that's what we govern ourselves by. And unless we want to be as outlandish and as immature as the left, we have to stick to those things. We have to convict these people. We have to get all... I need to see a smoking gun, like the Wayfair thing. I need to see who those cabinets were being delivered to, who placed the orders for those cabinets, who put them, who uploaded them on the site. I need to see something more, and I'm not saying that I don't believe, because I'm it's not that hard to believe that there's some crooked stuff going on in Hollywood, but I need to know for sure so that we can actually prosecute, and so that we, as the people who are seeking justice, will actually get the proper justice, and not just hanging somebody in the court of public opinion because we don't like how she talks to our president. We need to be consistent here, guys. consistency throughout, freedom of speech throughout. Those things she tweeted about children was horrendous and evil. But that doesn't mean she should never work again. That means she should be put on trial, on a real trial with a jury of her peers. And if she is convicted of pedophilia, then we can do something. And we can cancel her out of real life like a real pedophile should. And we should even probably give her the death penalty, to be honest, because it's despicable. But we can't be inconsistent and we can't be hypocritical and say when somebody sticks up for Trump, like the CEO of Goya, you better not cancel him. We're going to support him. But then when Nick Cannon says something that we don't like, now we have to go and flip-flop on our words and try and cancel Nick Cannon. We should not, Viacom shouldn't have fired him, and he shouldn't have been canceled. His ideas need to be expressed so that we know what ideas people have. And if we keep making people scared to talk about their ideas, we're never going to know who has poisonous ideas, who has hateful ideas, and who has good ideas. We're never going to be able to know. Me and you could get canceled next because we're saying things that are truthful. So we need to be careful, guys. Let's read one more Minister Farrakhan clip. So, the mother wheel is a heavily armed spaceship the size of a city, which will rain destruction upon white America, but save those who embrace the Nation of Islam. So this is the agenda, right? It's to get rid of America and replace it with the Nation of Islam. So Islam is one of the only religions that has embedded in it, a governmental system. If you look into any Islamic culture, you'll see that the imams are the ones that really deal with most of the marital issues, the court issues. They decide divorces and all these things. They are a government unto themselves. So when Islam goes to a country, the first idea or the first thing that they need to do is establish a reign over the government. Because Islam is not only a belief system or a worldview, it is also a governmental view of the world. And so if you are not seeking to gain power within the government as a person who believes in Islam, then you are not a good Muslim. And this is the fact of the matter. So when people like Minister Farrakhan talk about the Nation of Islam, which is not, it's a sect of mainstream Islam, we need to be very careful about the kind of stuff that he's spewing, because it needs to be expressed and it needs to be shown for what it is, and that is hateful. So my whole message for today's episode is stop the cancel culture, no matter for who, and make sure you prosecute people according to the laws before we start hanging them in the court of public opinion. Okay? That's it. Haven't been feeling too good past couple days, just got nothing with Rona or anything, but I'm epileptic, so I had a little mini episode, and that's why I may seem a little off today. Maybe not, I don't know. But I'm back to normal. I'm back on my stride, and I'm just doing my thing. But like always, thank you. And if you made it this far, you're the real MVP. If you want to help me continue this thing and make this a full-time thing as opposed to just a hobby, just head over to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/angelkiros. Or just if you don't feel like donating, just subscribe. We're right here where you are. Like, comment, share with your friends, and I'll be more than honored. I always respond to my comments, so just drop me a comment. Let me know that you subscribe, and I'll just give you a big old thumbs up. I'll say thank you, I love you, all that stuff. I'll propose to you, all the good stuff. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys. My name is Angel.